If your estranged parent is sending you gifts or gifts to your kids, aka tools of engagement, because it's a tool, right? To try to either look good or get your attention or maybe a little bit of both. If you are in a situation where this is happening to you, I want to talk about it. Normally, I would say 95% of the time, I'll go with that. I advise that you take those things and you donate them if you don't want them. You don't acknowledge, you don't break no contact. They're breaking no contact. You don't have to do it in reverse. Returning it is a form of contact for them. And depending on where you are in your journey of estrangement, it might matter to you what your estranged parent is saying about you. You might still be in the place of, and I say still because it changes over time, you may still be in the place of, it hurts me to know that they're smear campaigning me and saying things about me. And, you know, when you return that gift, the tool, they're going, that ungrateful child, or look, I tried, and, you know, all of that sort of thing. And look, they're telling people that they're giving you gifts and sending things and being generous and painting themselves well and all that, whether you care or not. Let's be very, very clear about that. So how you feel about that isn't going to change their behavior, because if your feelings had impact on their behavior, you probably wouldn't be estranged. And then there's the part of the journey where you don't care what they're saying anymore. Anything that they say doesn't impact your life. You get to that place of recognition. That's the place I've been like forever, where it's like, well, I have my own roof over my head. I have my own stuff. I have my own people. I have my own life, my stuff, right? And what they're doing is a them problem, because they don't get to live rent free in my body anymore, in my head anymore, all of that. Okay. So as we talk about this, I feel it's important for me to recognize that not everybody is in the same place, and for us all to recognize that. Because some people will be like, well, just donated. Who cares? You're not engaged anyway. It's a trigger point. It's an invasion of your safe space. When they send things, it is a power move. It can feel that way. It's like, I don't care if you don't want to talk to me. I don't respect your boundaries. And it really should be a validation and a reminder that nothing has changed. Because if something had changed, then maybe what they would send is one card, one note, one letter saying, listen, I'm in therapy now. I'm trying to work on me. I recognize that our relationship is broken because I was a parent that wasn't showing up for you, or whatever that looks like. And tell me what you need from me and let's work through it. That would be the only thing in my mind that I feel is an appropriate touch point. The rest of it is just about ego. What brings this to mind? Well, one of you out there, and thank you very much, Terry, for taking the time to comment. And I think you commented on that particular video where I was talking about donating the gifts and not breaking no contact for yourself. I think you commented on it a couple of times. And it's an important comment, because while there aren't a lot of situations in terms of, remember I said like 95% of the time, I only see this consistently with a small percentage of my clients, for example, and even in a smaller percentage of comments that are made on videos where I'm talking about what do you do with the gifts? How do you shut that down? And I want to remind everyone out there that if the parent was respecting boundaries in the first place and you're no contact, they're not sending gifts. So saying no and sending it back while you're sending a clear message is likely not going to be received in a way where it's actually respected, right? However, there are definitely exceptions to the rule. There definitely is a percentage of people out there who have stalker parents. They're stalkers. I've got one lady, her father, they've been no contact for years, has actually driven on her property. Yep. I've got another one who had been no contact, 5-6 years, came home. Her mother was in her bed sleeping, taking a nap, broke into her house. Restraining orders in both of those cases, by the way. That's what that ended up in. And that's really dangerous behavior. When you start talking about stalker behavior, anything is possible with people who are in that sort of a mindset. And I think it's very important to take it very, very, very seriously. Let me read the comment and we'll continue to get into it. And I know that you're seeing it on the screen here, but I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud because I also want to make sure that I address as much as I can in it. What does it say if you don't return the gifts? What about the gift card that was sent to my new address when I moved and I didn't tell them? I don't agree with donating the gifts. Return to sender or they will think it's okay to send gifts. Okay, before I continue on, they already think it's okay to send gifts, to do whatever they want because they're entitled. Part of their entitled behavior is the reason that you're no contact in the first place. However, when you're talking about somebody who is capable of reaching stalker behavior, that's where it changes. So with most people, most situations, the majority of what I see, no contact is no contact, and they eventually give up and go away because it's not working to create a moment of attention, which is what they're looking for. Okay, continue on here. Okay, hear me out. That's what you said, not me. If you return the gifts, you aren't breaking no contact. Well, the no contact was broken. They broke it, right? So that's not on you. However, you are breaking your own boundary for yourself. And sometimes it is necessary to do so. You are sending a message that you don't accept their contact. That's true. Not arguing that point. It's just that how many times do you want to do that? And is it necessary to do that? In your case, absolutely it was necessary to do that. And we'll get to the breakdown of it. And in the case of any time you're dealing with someone who's stalker level again. If you donate, they think you kept the items and they will send more. I dropped these items off on the driveway. You came to my house uninvited. I don't want this gift. Stop. That's me, not you. You didn't write that. The last time they did this, I had moved and no one knew where I was. I called the cops because they sent these particular gifts with a stranger to my property. I'm really sorry because to me that's very scary. Like seriously, that's next level. I actually had grandparents. I do it that way because to me, grandparents who are loving and kind wouldn't do this sort of thing, who showed up at their grandchildren's daycare and then again at their grandchildren's school and would do drive-bys at the house to see if the kids were playing in the yard. And one of the days the kids were playing in the yard and grandma got out and did a whole number. So, you know, this is not okay. This is stalker behavior. This had to be handled and also ended in a restraining order. No means no. I needed to send a message. The police told them to stop and gave me permission to return them. If mailed to you, then take or return to the post office. Until I did this, they wouldn't stop sending gifts, which means they were constantly invading my space and returning to my property. You have to tell them no in a message. Keeping the gifts tells them they can keep on doing it. Being silent isn't permission. Not saying no isn't permission. Right? And I'm not saying that I don't agree with you. I'm not even saying I disagree with you. In the circumstance that you're in when you're dealing with a stalker, there are some really important things that you need to do. And documentation is one of those things in order to be able to get a restraining order. So most places, and I'm just talking North America, I don't know about laws all around the globe. I do know this in both Canada and the United States. In most places, in order to be able to get a restraining order eventually, because it's not going to happen out of the gate, there are some things that you need to do and document in this type of behavior. And 100%, not that you need to hear it from me, you did the right thing. Just like 100% in situations where it's more benign and after a couple of gifts it stops and there's no drive-bys or other types of behaviors that are tied into the stalking. I mean, sending someone, a stranger to your house, that's terrifying. They are terrorizing you. In most situations, when you ignore it, it does go away. It does stop. They didn't get the attention that they were looking for. In situations that have markers of stalking, like yours, number one, you do need to send them a very clear message. And I always suggest to clients you do it in text and in email so you have a double backup there. do not contact me anymore. And then, they draft the letter the way that they want to draft it. And I tell them to cover their bases, meaning list, not by phone, not by text, not by mail, not by whatever, all the things, right? Do not contact me anymore. The police will be looking for that. They do look for that. When it comes to the point where you're calling the cops and trying to get a restraining order, through the courts and all of that. The next thing that I suggest that they do after that in a follow-up, not even waiting for another contact, is have a lawyer write a letter. It's relatively inexpensive to do that. Probably, a couple of $100 or whatever, a cease and desist, no contact. So you have it documented, not just in your personal word, but also you're involving basically an officer of the court, letting the court know eventually, if it does come to the point where you need a restraining order, that this was a very serious situation. Also, what's good about the lawyer letter is more times than not, it does stop the behavior. If it doesn't, now you have your ducks in a row to be able to obtain a restraining order. I'm really sorry that this has happened to you. I'm really, I can imagine, because my mother showed up on my doorstep. I can imagine, because she had me arrested when I was in my 20s for a check she stopped payment on that she gave to me and didn't tell me. Yeah, it was a whole thing, and I was pregnant, and it came out of the blue, and she knew I was pregnant. I understand how it feels to have somebody bully and violate you over and over and over again. I understand the fear attached to not wanting your own parent or parents to have your physical address because you don't want to be terrorized by them. I totally get it. So I thank you for this video, because it will help somebody out there who might even be in that place of self-doubt of, well, they're just trying to get in touch with me. I'll just, ignore it. And they're doing it over and over and over and over again. I'm not talking about the donation kind of thing. And getting to the donation kind of thing for other people in circumstances where you're no contact and you don't really care about the gifts, and you're probably in the beginning phases of no contact, like early days, and you don't want those gifts, do donate them. Don't send them back. Just leave it be. Don't give them any contact. Don't even let them know that you noticed. If some friend goes, oh, did you get the gift from your mother? You could just be like, I'm sorry, you're not involved in my relationship or non-relationship with my mother or my father. Don't engage over it at all. Don't give it any oxygen, right? Don't give them engagement, because that's not, if they were respecting your boundaries in the first place, would you be no contact? So what makes you think when you send it back that end result is going to be all of a sudden they respect your no contact rules? And that's why I say it. If it escalates and it continues and it carries on, then go through the steps. Send a message by text, by email, a cease and desist, and then hopefully it stops there. Anybody else have any comments about this, experiences, questions, things you'd like me to cover? Please drop it in the comment section. And thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate you all.